Necessity of having computers and software, right? And for those dates, whether it's, I don't know when it started exactly, but even up to 2010, 2012, the theory of constraints community was trying in many ways to live without software.
So was Lean.
Everybody
was living without Lean. Okay.
And Lean was doing the same. So,
yeah.
You're
because
in
it
that way
violated both.
a Martian, because
I'm a Martian. Yes.
You're saying, you know, and you don't really make the difference really between Lean and the theory of constraints, because it's all flow and stuff.
Yeah. Well,
and you're saying,
and Six Sigma.
Yes, computers might be useful.
Yes. Yes. Don't you think that would be wild? But you know,
it is a kind of revolutionary idea, because everybody's given up on that, right?
Well, they have.
We have smartphones, we have lots of fun things, but to run an organization, we try and do it by guts and arguments.
I knew in 2004 we couldn't do that. And when they were doing the talk today, it's like, you know, you don't have a jet. I know why I don't have a jet. I don't have a jet because I invested in software engineers. Basically, I don't have anything because I invested in software engineers. But it was the only way I could see to keep learning. You can't integrate. Here's the thing. Visibility.
Yeah, I know, but the theory of constraints movement was looking for increasing the results of an organization. The Lean community was doing the same.
Mm-hmm.
And
Six Sigma was doing the same.
Six Sigma was doing the same, but they all, in this world where digital things are just popping up all over the place, getting more powerful, cheaper and stuff, they all turn their backs to that.
Wild, isn't it?
And you're saying, no, actually we could use computers.
Well, no, I'm saying we must. And not even we could. Yeah. I have no choice. It'd be sort of like me showing up at your door and you saying, you know, I need some transportation. I said, I've got a horse and buggy for you. Yeah. Get in, don't worry. It's the best way to get you to the airport. Not going to happen. So I believe,
okay, then can I turn it around another way? Because simultaneously right now in 2019, people are proposing to use digital, to use IT, to use software, hardware, in many ways in organizations with Industry 4.0, artificial intelligence, robots, this and that.
Sat on some boards about that.
Exactly, there's a lot of stuff being offered with IT in operations.
That will all go to hell. So your robot's faster? I mean, let's go back to the goal.
So how do you look at that other side of, you know, for making decisions and running things, people are backing away from IT. And you're saying, don't you need it. Yeah. But because IT is everywhere, they feel they have to use it, and they're plugging it in here to run a robot, or to do this, and to do that.
Yeah,
spending fortunes
if you go to,
without any results, but because, you know, like
Phil, if you go to any company,
yeah.
I don't care, tiny, large, if I told them you can't have any IT, that I would be laughed out of the world. Yeah. Okay, so here, but you know, I think it was sort of like this, because neither Lean nor Six Sigma nor TOC could bridge to make that change, or even make it. Yeah, they had to turn their back on it because there was nowhere to fit in the world. Okay, but it cost them. Okay,
I completely agree with that. I'm just trying to work out why
I didn't go that way.
Or what was the key that led you to find the solution, and why the others didn't find it? I mean, it's a big obvious thing, isn't it? We're talking about whether we use computers to run organizations.
Okay, I'm going to answer that because you have to remember my background is finance. Yeah. Okay, so for me, I'm always interested in the return on investment. If I'm going to see the return on investment, I got very clear that, and I'm totally grounded in belief in management accounting and good economics. Mm-hmm. I'm also totally grounded in the belief that I will get human behavior. Management accounting is applied economics and human behavior, okay? That there is latency in having information. So I have two choices about information. I can have it very late and also very bad, okay? the better I can make it early and the better I can make it important, then the easier human behavior is, right? Okay. So when I was working at Olympic Stain, I got to work. Well, I also have my other partner who I haven't even talked about, and that's Greg Cass. So Chad and I drug Greg Cass into our business in 1998 at Ditch Witch because we said, oh my God, we need some help with IT. You know, he and I are married. He and I met at we worked together. We've always worked together, okay?
Right.
So he is one of the first people who adopted anything that was IT but made it practical, okay? So we had the very first computers that were portable, that looked like a sewing machine back in '87. Like '85, I am hauling this puppy around, going to our distributors, Olympic Stain, to show them a pricing matrix model we had for them so they could get the frickin' end caps right, so we could sell more and not stock out. I mean, that was the kind of finance people we were. We weren't the sit in the back room. So when we brought Greg in, I mean, for us, it's just intuitive that you gotta have software. I mean,
no, but it's intuitive. Is it intuitive?
It's intuitive because of our background.
It's intuitive that we needed software. But isn't the reason you found the answer and nobody as yet has in, for instance, the lean movement or the theory of constraints movement, because of
Why wouldn't you
you've
say
also
nobody
described?
has? Because there are some people who are doing it too, who got
Okay.
it.
But wasn't it also because of the logical thinking aspects of...
I'm going to say two things stopped people. They didn't think on their own. They relied on Ellie. And since Ellie was sort of miffed at the software people for not embracing how genius he was and changing themselves, if you couldn't do something bad, he's going to try and find another way around it. I think people didn't think for themselves. I also believe that the thinking process tools are so powerful that people worked at a strategy area and they got a solution set that got a great win in a silo. And like you watched Eliyahu Goldratt series say, but then it moved here and we got lost, and then it moved here and we got lost, and then it moved here and we got lost. I never got lost. When it moved over there, I said, oh my gosh, let's go chase over there, because I have a disease and I'm terminally curious. And I don't care about what I've already learned. I care about why I don't know that. And that's where Chad and Carol sort of come in.
Okay.
I didn't care about that. I'm not practical. I'll probably die broke, okay? Because I'm always going to chase what I don't know. It makes me happy.
Yeah.
They are totally fundamentally about how do I market this in such a way that the rest of the world can follow it and make it practical. And they figured out together that we needed to take these innovations, Greg Cass is the father of DDMRP, no doubt in my mind. I'd say to him, I need this. He goes, that's not possible. I'd say, well, make it possible. You can make this possible. He'd say, everything before we coded anything, we worked out in Excel. We did a pilot inside the company, saw that it worked, then we coded it either in them or there. Then we looked at it and we learned and we learned and we learned.
Yeah.
And so, but they knew Apex was losing just like TOC was losing, just like Lean was losing, just like Six Sigma was losing. Even though the black belts and the Lean practitioners, it's easier to get that stuff, and it does do something where you can see it local. The difference between, I think, why TOC's taken a harder hit in terms of proliferation rather than Lean and Six Sigma, it's so much easier to do a silo Lean or a silo Six Sigma and see a result even though nothing goes to the bottom line because it didn't improve a leverage point. We are stuck on finding that leverage point, and by gosh, we're going to improve there. That's a harder thing than just saying, hey, anybody want to improve somewhere? Oh, yay, look, I have clean work area. I'm going to do a faster setup. Those are good things, but they totally waste concentration and time if I do it everywhere in the wrong place. So Lean has a perfect place in this world of mine. Six Sigma has a perfect place because I'm all about statistical variation, but where? Where should we do it? Where do those tools apply? That's where that TOC comes in. Here's what Chad and Carol said. Carol, you have to remember, Carol was the executive manager that took Apex to its peak, okay? Also, I got her in to be the TOCICO general manager, and she did an excellent job until she decided that she was going to come join us and make a difference, tired of being stuck. Apex attrition has gone, I remember there'd be 20,000 people, okay? And tracks and all this, you go to you're lucky to get 1,200 people, okay? But the whole key is, it was stuck too. The top we thought we would get Apex to adopt this as a body of knowledge sooner. So they've made certification. I mean, they've sold this around the world. The world is really demand-driven, understanding the problem because it's a simple solution and it works. They also, because the market is asking for it, now big software is doing it. So that was our goal. We wanted to finish what necessary sufficient didn't do. So in 2011, we hired Eric Bush and said, we have no business running a software company. We'll give you shares, you run this puppy for us. We're gonna stay on this solution. Chad and Carol, we said, look, we'll give you guys our all our intellectual property about all of this stuff we've developed. You create a market of, they are simply an education, they don't consult, they are an education institution. We're going to stay focused on making those stories, making those next breakthroughs, because we're still learning. I mean, we're still learning.
Yeah, I know. That's going to be my final
the
question
rate
today.
at which I'm learning.
Every time you solve a problem, you just
into-
see another one. So,
I can't get it into the software fast enough, but it's getting, I mean, we've got venture capital, so it's getting closer.
Yeah.
But the point I'm making is that we knew also that we had to divest ourselves of ownership of each other, except for the software. That's still under our umbrella, but gratefully, I'm losing ownership, but I don't have to pay for it anymore, so I'm totally good with that. But they are independent, and we basically, Ellie said to me something brilliant years ago. He said, I said, well, we've learned these things. He goes, put everything out there. Put everything you know, give everybody all your secrets. Because at the end of the day, they won't be able to do it, and they're gonna come and ask you. And so what the whole point with the Demand Driven Institute was to create practitioners who could teach it. Those are almost all Apex old people, and they're concerns old people, okay? Why? Because there's a market and a delivery mechanism, and it's relevant to them. They are, planners get it immediately. They're the ones who have pulled it through, that now there's 30 different softwares that are DDMRP compliant in all different levels and flavors of goodness in terms of what they can do, sizes, but it's forced SAP to present forward. It's forced on Oracle. I mean, all these people stepping forward. We're inside NetSuite. I mean, that's made it so now we can talk about it, right? But Demand Driven Institute is also saying, hey, it's not enough to be DDMRP. That's just your inventory solution. It's getting a right signal. We fixed MRP. Now you still must make the right thing. And you must break those cost conflicts that are efficiency measures. And that's where that demand-driven execution and scheduling. And for us, that's drum buffer rope because it works. It's been known to work forever. It's beaten every test anybody ever gets it. Now we have to connect it to strategy and tactics because Demand Driven Institute's job is to take this, make education material, and to say, these are the minimum criteria. And those minimum criteria aren't that tough. They're not like we set at TOCICO where you must be this giant Jonah and you must think through all the strategy. The whole idea with software is to build a framework that's good, that actually follows the right rules and tools, and then gives you an opportunity to check what you did versus what you said you would do, and see is there too much, too little, too late, too early, and learn and change. So you change the parameters of the model, it gets tighter and tighter and tighter, and that is what demand-driven operating models are about. That's the guts of connecting everything from quote to cash that brings a company together. But that is just in my day-to-day world, right? In my day-to-day world, I still have to have that learning loop that comes back, because what we found out very quickly at Laterno is that if I got better and I didn't change the model, standards still stayed bad, then I still planned on this much time or this much time, I had to identify those, change them all, and then I could start to shrink things. And that's where the lead time starts to shrink. Now here's the fascinating thing. I am putting things into a buffer of time, that's my stored capacity, and if my lead time shrinks, I can get it there faster, which means I don't need this much anymore, I now need this much. If I'm not making that loop, that was something that says, hey, here, act here. I'm out of tolerance, I'm too much, too little, too early, too late. Here's your opportunity, and trend it, and actually assign people to take action, not just look at it. And it becomes management's job, a very different world. I'm not firefighting. I'm not out there fixing you and you and you, or keeping you, herding goose, oh, you're over that way, this way, tapping them on the side of the head. I can actually say, I can look at this and say, this is our 3 largest things that are our biggest opportunity. These are the projects we're going to choke first and do first. And then it becomes routine. Routinized tactical reconciliation is, the, the knowing of what caused me to be too early, too late, too little, too much. And because each one of those makes variation. The more I take that variation out, the quieter the world gets, and then velocity happens. So routinizing that, giving you a framework. What we saw at Laterno is we had that framework, turned it off, it didn't work anymore. So then comes the part where we have to connect that tactics to the strategy at the executive level. Do you understand why what the goodness happened? If you don't understand why the goodness happened, then you won't understand the principle of choke and prioritize, or prioritize and then choke. I'm just going to say, do you want this project that does this or this project that, no, I want them all. But which one should I do in what sequence, and which one gives me the most bang for the buck? Because you can't have them all. Well, maybe you can, but you can't have them all at the same time. You got to stagger them, and that's where you get that velocity. So here's the cool thing. We knew that Apex is the key to getting back to giving relevance to people who were amazing. The planners and the schedulers in manufacturing, they are the smartest people I know. And when Jim Cox said, they have maybe a high school education, I don't care. I mean, they are the genius brains. Those people, however they got there, they usually got there from the floor, they keep all this thing in RAM. And that they can do that is scary. They have to work outside the system, so they've got Excel. If you ask them, if I take your Excel away, what would happen? We'd die. But nobody's Excel spreadsheet looks like anybody else's, and I can't transfer it. I mean, they know their problems. When you give them something that says, if you ask them, how, this MRP message, did it make sense to you today? No, I don't ever look at those. They're this high, and it just told me to do the opposite of what it told me to do yesterday. When you can say to somebody, here's the math behind this, here's why you're getting it, you check the math, and if you don't like it, then tell me what parameter it is, and you fix it, and you own it. They get it. So it's grassroots that has pulled demand-driven back into Apex. And it's literally, people may not know, but are very happy in 2018, Apex basically said, we are going to adopt demand-driven as the third pillar of supply chain. And, certify its material and test, and you can get these certifications. They're not cannibalizing what they have, because there's a basis to understand MRP. And then think of this as sort of the black belt on top of your green belt. But to me, that says we've turned a corner in major
awareness. Is it really the black belt?
I don't know. I never keep my belt straight.
No, I mean, it's there's as you've been explaining, there are various levels, the foundations and stuff that gets more and more sophisticated, but the fundamentals are nice and simple. In fact, they're in fact simpler than what you just described very well about how brilliant these planners have to be in the old world to keep things going, because they're just getting flooded with information that's incorrect or contradictory and changing with them. And you're creating simpler environments.
Yes, but it's still on the guts of MRP. Okay, so they still have to understand how bombs work and those kind of things. And that's the basic that Apex taught. So I'm going to say that basic core knowledge is valuable, and the people, and Apex has offered a valuable solution for that. Now what's wrong is, how do I use it, and I still need that bomb connection. Now how do I use MRP? MRP is still giving me that. It's the signal that's coming from these replenishment buffers. So think of it as the on top. So for me, it's the...
you're being very kind, because you need to have a bill of materials to start doing some scheduling.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Okay, And also, sometimes I think you need to know how MRP thinks and what's broken about it, because it's a brilliant calculator. It's the forecast feed-in that's broken. So if I feed it something else, it'll still calculate. And there are some logic changes and that we make because of the world. So